Hello and welcome to Eye on South Asia. I'm Bhavna Vanan.
And I'm Sanjiv Pandya.
Every week we'll bring to you the latest news and happenings in the South Asian community.
And this week's top story, Bhavna, we start our show Eye on South Asia, has to do with politics in Washington.
Okay.
This weekend is a big one for President Barack Obama's second term inauguration. And January 19th is the date set for inauguration ceremonies. And this time's ceremony is not going to be as big, as loud, as cheerful as it was in 2009, 4 years ago. But still, it is an exciting event for many political organizations who actually go to Washington this time of the year and really kind of make their presence felt. And for the very first time, Indian Americans in U.S. politics will also be making their entry into Washington by having their own ball called Indiaspora.
Exactly. And Indiaspora is, like you said, the first time that there's going to be a congregation of Indian Americans. We represent about 3 million Indian Americans in the country. And this is a nonprofit group. They're going to be celebrating with song and dance and food and you name it. And it's a great networking opportunity even with the political elite in the country.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just to give you more information, the tickets for this event is about $300 just to get a ticket to enter in the ball, and VIP tickets are about $1,100 with the promise of exclusive benefits and a special guest access. That means maybe a chance to meet President Barack Obama.
Yes, and governors, of course. There'll be Indian American governors, mostly Democratic, of course. Not so much Republicans, but we do have governors and lawmakers. We also have the entertainers that we discussed in our previous episode. Groups like Red Bharat, the Mona Khan Dance Company, Shankar Tucker, several performers there. And really one of the goals of Indiaspora, they have said, is to bring more light to the Indian community when it comes to the political sphere, as well as being able to promote more Indian Americans coming into these offices, as Obama has been doing with his several new appointments. We've talked about, our latest one was Shrikant Srinivasan as federal judge, as we talked about last time. So, there are a lot more Indian Americans coming into office in the present term.
So then it will be interesting for everyone to wait and know that if President Barack Obama actually makes a stop at this Indiaspora ball, because he chooses and makes a stop at certain balls. He doesn't go to each and every one of them, obviously. But let's say if President Barack Obama visits this Indiaspora ball organized by Indian Americans.
There are going to be several balls and celebrations all around the country on that day, obviously. But one question is that, coming back to the point where Indian Americans being promoted in the Obama administration, have we actually seen some policy change or some influential decisions being made that would benefit the community, or does it just seem to be kind of a vanity thing of pride and status for the Indian community?
I would agree with the latter part more than first part, but we'll definitely get more information. We'll let you know. But in the end, I just want to add one more thing, Bhavna, for our viewers, is that Indian Americans are officially counted by the Census Bureau and data from other sources as the most affluent and well-educated among all ethnic groups, including white Americans.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, they have great power in terms of monetary funding and fundraisers. So it would really be nice to see some sort of influential stand taken by the community at large.
That's true.
Whether they run for office or not, they should be supporting some cause.
Yep.
All right, we don't want to leave out the Republicans in the middle of all of this celebration, of course.
Now you're making me feel better.
So Bobby Jindal is back in the news, back in the public eye, pushing his platform on a couple of different issues. Hot button issues we have are, firstly, income tax in his state of Louisiana. He's come up with a proposal with putting more money back with the people of Louisiana, where he's reforming tax codes, that's going to make his state more attractive to businesses, as well as one of his goals regarding, putting money back with the people, is to eliminate all personal and income taxes in his state.
And
that's very ambitious.
And at the same time, he wants to keep sales tax low.
Right.
So, he wants to eliminate all personal income taxes and keep state income tax also, sales tax low. I don't know where they are planning to fill that gap in revenue,
right.
But he has not revealed any details. And he said the plan is underway, and that's what he's going to propose to the Washington.
Yeah. And moving on to the second issue that he's taken a stand on is the very hot button issue of gun safety legislation,
right.
which has seen some development even in this week with the Obama administration rolling out their new regulations. And he wants to call special attention to keeping guns out of the hands of mentally ill.
Yep. Right.
So he wants
That's
to
important.
He wants to do that as well as protect the Second Amendment rights for healthy, law-abiding American citizens as well to own guns.
I think that law is going to be applied to all 50 states in the U.S. as President Barack Obama said in his press conference yesterday, I believe, or just a couple of days ago, that that law is going to be all over USA, that the guns will be out of the people's hands who are mentally ill or who've got past records of mental imbalance history.
Right, and Bobby Jindal actually wants to put his state at the forefront of kind of imposing these policies.
True.
And he wants to have Louisiana reporting individual eligibility to own guns to the NICS, which is the Criminal Background Check Bureau. And several states already do this, including Connecticut, where there was the shooting last month. But there will be a list of criteria as to what is considered mentally ill or, how these people will be reported to that bureau.
Yep.
So we're going to see how Bobby Jindal implements these two big propositions that he has for his state.
For his state, Louisiana. All the best to him.
All the best to him. And speaking of mental instability and insanity in the courtroom. Remember Erica Menendez?
How can you forget?
How can we forget the woman who had murdered an Indian man on a subway by pushing him onto an oncoming subway train? And she had said that she had hated Muslims and Hindus and had been pushing them around ever since 9/11. She had used that excuse, and she had killed Sunanda Sen. And initially she was positioned as being mentally unstable, unfit to stand trial. But this week, the judge of this case has announced that she has been found fit to stand trial.
Exactly. Yep.
But she has not appeared in court at all.
I think at that time, I think judge announced it on January 14th, and she was still in hospital, if I'm not mistaken.
She's still hospitalized.
She's still in hospital, but I think all the evaluations and the reports indicate that she is fit for the trial. So once she's out of the hospital, then the trial will begin.
Right.
But
it seems that in the past she's gotten away with a lot of crimes, misdemeanors, nothing of this sort, nothing of this severity, but she's had a history of mental illness, and so she's gotten out of it, pleading insanity.
Yep.
Now, what I find interesting is if this case is, she's tried as a healthy citizen, does it really matter if they're going to see it as a hate crime or as a regular murder?
It's going to be a hate crime. I think prosecution is obviously going to push for hate crime, but I just hope that this case does not end up in a mistrial.
Yeah, because a lot of hate crime cases, they don't seem to be prosecuted to the full extent.
Correct.
Because there's a lot of legislation. The laws around hate crimes aren't sophisticated enough yet.
And also jurors, when jurors, they go out and when they give out their verdict, they really don't take that scenario, the whole hate crime matter very seriously.
Right.
And in the past, many cases like that have occurred, and basically
it's just kind of slipped under either this category or that category.
The suspect have gone out
right.
of the case. So I just hope that this case does not end up in a mistrial. I mean, she did it. She pushed Mr. Sunanda Sen on a subway off the tracks, and that's how he got killed. So let's see what happens.
Yeah.
And speaking of, let's see what happens. Once again, Rajat Gupta and his court case is in the news. This time it's Procter & Gamble. Procter & Gamble, that we have not heard from them in a long time, because Goldman Sachs and Rajat Gupta are always, coming into the story. So this time it's a Procter & Gamble asking Mr. Rajat Gupta to repay about 25% of total $30 million legal fees. Mm-hmm. So Procter & Gamble is seeking a restitution of about $7 million from Rajat Gupta for all the legal fees and everything that they had to go through because of speculation that Rajat Gupta provided inside information to Rajaratnam while he was sitting on a board for Procter & Gamble.
Right, and Goldman Sachs earlier had demanded about the same
sum. We talked about that, yes.
Yeah, in legal fees.
Right.
So now all of these corporations are coming back at Rajat Gupta and really pushing hard to cover these legal fees.
So, this case, I think, is far from over.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I can say. Is far from over, because Rajat Gupta has appealed his sentence in the court, and then I think second time he's going to be tried, and nobody knows what's going to happen. So it's far from over, and I'm sure more and more stories will come out. All right, and continuing with our this week's top stories, Pravasi Bharitya Divas, as we mentioned, a couple of weeks ago in our show, that Pravasi Bharitya Divas usually takes place in India and in January, I think from January 9th to 11th, and then every year it's a different place. This time it's in Kochi, and President and Prime Minister, they were all there. But the most important thing is the Prime Minister basically invites overseas Indians to invest, share knowledge in India, because Prime Minister announced that NRI's contribution and support would help to bring the country's gross domestic product up. It's going to be at 5 to 6%, but they want to end up at 7 to 8 or 9%. Mm-hmm. So PM basically announced when he met all these NRIs attending Pravasi Bharitya Divas, he announced that overseas Indians must invest and share knowledge in India. And at the same time, different presentations were actually shown, indicating that how different states actually coming out with very attractive investment offers for overseas Indians. Mm-hmm. And states like Kochi, Punjab, even Jharkhand and Madhya Pradesh, besides Gujarat and Maharashtra, all these states are actually rolling out very attractive schemes and plans for investors to come in. So you don't have to just invest only in the known states. You can actually go in a state like Odisha or even Jharkhand, and as they are developing, I think, a lot of infrastructure and kind of trying to attract NRIs and their money power in India.
Right, like speaking of Odisha, for example, they really showcase their agricultural strengths, as well as Punjab. And of course, the corporate hubs in these states as well were very attractive for foreign investment.
Right.
Now, the government of India, they have actually talked about this decade being the decade of innovation. Innovation was actually their key word in this whole conference. And one of the advisors to the Prime Minister on public information and innovation, Sam Petroda, actually talked about the government setting up state-level innovation to really take on challenges that the nation faces at a very core level, talking about issues like poverty and using just innovative ideas and technological development, scientific research and study to really solve those problems.
Exactly. So it was a very successful Pravasi Bharitya Divas in India.
Yes. And with that, we're going to take a short break.
Yes.
We're going to have a lot more community news coming up right after the break on Eye on South Asia.